Hello, hi everybody. We are live. I'm your host, Jana Lesson, with Reverend Debbie Grace, and we're going to pick up where we started the last episode. So do go back, and I'll put the link to that one in the bottom of the description. We finished that. So go ahead, take it away, Debbie.
Well, I'd love to celebrate that Janet, Teresa, and I laid the foundation for today's broadcast on February 11th. That went about, what do we say, 75 minutes. And so I highly recommend that once you experience this communication, that it'll make a whole lot more sense. You go back and get those essential ingredients. However, it's not necessary to be able to get the value and the benefit of what's flowing through here exactly 16 days before the spring or vernal equinox. My name is Reverend Debbie Grace. I'm the founder of the Divine Union Academy as well as the Divine Union Foundation, and I'm so grateful to be here with Janet. So, do you want to share with the audience a bit more about your broadcast lineage, right? What you've been transmitting and how
Oh,
I connect with the bigger picture?
Yes, my husband and I founded the Temple of Tantra in 1997 when I came here, a long time ago. And he already had a Tantra temple going with his ex-wife and Charles Muir, Caroline Muir. So I have this long Tantra lineage. But I also I'm an extraterrestrial contactee, so I have that aspect. And I've always been very spiritual. So I met Dr. Lesson in 97 at the conference in Mount Madonna, and then we got married in October of the celebration of Eros, with the late great Dr. Deborah Anna Paul facilitating our wedding.
Yeah.
And it was just, were you there? I don't even,
No,
there was a
I just
couple
remember.
hundred people there. Yeah. So, and then we spent many years doing the Tantra conferences. We were doing polyamory conferences, and then we started doing the UFO conferences with the ancient astronauts Anunnaki lineage, which of course is where Tantra came to the planet Earth, if you are into those things. And we continue. I'm not inflicting my beliefs of religion on anybody, but it's an offering. You can listen, you like it, you don't, whatever. Take what has value and meaning and work to you. So started doing the radio broadcasts officially in June of 2012, and then we just kept going. We were always putting out these broadcasts. We switched to audiovisual, so I'm changing everything to Aquarian media because now we're doing, everything audiovisual. And this is what. Thank you so much for coming on, being part of my experiment and learning how to do
Yeah.
StreamYard. But
Yes.
I think without further ado, we'll have you take. Now I don't know if I guess you can't do the slides, so you'll just have to tell me next. Okay.
Yeah, it's the one thing
I think
about
there's a way for
StreamYard.
you to do the slides. If you were to upload on your end, like for the future, then you could
Okay.
probably do your own forwarding. But we'll just do it this way for now. Okay. Thank you
We're
so much for
learning
coming.
each round, right?
Get better
So
and better.
it's a pleasure to connect, right, with the foundation that you and your beloved have already anchored and grounded for so many people worldwide. And a bit more about my background: I'm a shamanic midwife, an Akashic intuitive, an archetypal oracle, and an ambassador for the original arc of grace, which basically predates the birth of the whole planet. So I am an ancestral healer with the Ancestors Within movement. And my background really is with the ancients of the ancients. My specialty, of course, is applied towards planetary tantra. So, like I said, if this is all new for you, it's the lineage of this divine intimacy that we've shared with each other as humans, right? And it's multidimensional magnificence, and then now applying it to the biosphere or the morphogenetic field of the whole planet. Therefore, the name of the presentation is Healing with the Planetary Hieros Gamos, which is the planet's original sacred marriage. And we're going to incorporate that with the Star Nation's Cosmic Ancestral Awakening, Purification, and Transfiguration. So let's just dive right in. And if you can click to the next artwork, that'd be lovely. I'm going to read this from my computer.
I love your artwork that you create or find or however you get it. It's just beautiful.
Yes. I do ask, right, my teams to help me find the right and perfect images. So this is literally a picture of what we experience at the turning of the season when we're halfway between the winter solstice and the summer solstice. It's that midway point called the Vernal Equinox, also known as Ostara. And in Tantric communities, it's said that the spring equinox is an annual cosmological event when the solar day and the lunar night are of equal length in seasonal balance and equanimity of transition, right? Moving from winter and into summer. And Ostara shifts the poles on the days which will thereafter begin to be longer than the nights in this biannual meeting and hidden unity of opposites. So you have the traditional solar masculine and then the lunar feminine. And so the two equinoxes, the fall and spring equinox, is nature's way of modeling this divine marriage for us in the environment and in our relationship to the sun and the other planets in our solar system. And you can click to the next slide. And what we're focusing on today is how do we combine our personal transformation through our own ancestries with these seasonal gateways. And in the goddess cultures, it's known as the wheel of life. And Ostara is in what you would call the gate of the east. And so this clip is from Sacred Ancestry, and it talks about the power of our star ancestors. So part of what Jan and I have been sharing is that we're aware of our human ancestry, right? We have our human relatives and our human relations. And those of us that are contactees and know that we are star seeds or star borns or star walkers, right? Or hybrids or walk-ins. We're also aware of our galactic ancestry, our celestial ancestry, and that the two levels are happening simultaneously. It's not that we have our cosmic relatives and that's separate from our human relations. The two trees literally like superimpose because they're interconnected. And so my beautiful sister said it this way in her tradition. Our ancestors of soul lineage are beings whom we share a lineage with beyond this body, blood, and lifetime. Star ancestors can be powerful to work with on the path of ancestral healing and healing our blood lineages, and also in helping us to step into our soul purpose in this life, that higher destiny. Star ancestors are beings of love who hold wisdom and memory from lifetimes beyond this one and from planets and star systems beyond Earth, obviously. Souls are born into specific bloodlines to bring the wisdom of that unique soul's wider journey in the quantum beyond this lifetime and into the blood lineage that they were born into. Those of you that relate to the pre-birth planning councils, right? We choose our families before we arrive. And so this includes lifetimes that you have lived in other lineages. So like Janet has her lineages and I have my lineages, and it's both the human as well as the celestial. So right here, just between us two women, we have a huge mosaic of her multidimensional family tree and my multidimensional family tree. And that's part of why we're co-creating this broadcast for all humanity today. Next.
Excuse me.
And one of the aspects that Janet and I have in common is that we have a background in royalty, royal bloodlines in both the human as well as the cosmic. And so there's a parallel, right, of us holding a position of stewardship and of service to the greater good of the whole. And so oftentimes the galactic royal families will incarnate into human royal families because we are supporting the larger tantric movement for the whole planet, which is literally the embodiment and the manifestation of a quantum unified field. So, like for myself, I have a background in the Christ family, bloodline, and lineage. I'm also a part of the Asian royal phoenix and dragon Ming dynasty lineage. Then I'm also connected to the galactic royal families at the confederations of light that are also connected to the royal throne room of mother, father, source origins. And so there's overlays, or what you would call echoes, of the same purity of intent to come and support humanity to graduate out of what we would call duality or the separation templates and into unity templates, right? Out of the amnesia and into the remembrance. And so, what we have seen again and again and again is that our human families kind of got stuck, right? In dichotomies of light and dark, because Janet and I have both had near-death experiences very, very early in childhood. And that wasn't about us, right? She will tell you that was about the family business that was already, right? Like the family feud, even before we arrived on the planet. And so, we're traveling into quite the issue of the um, jockeying or positioning for power on the planet between the male and female principles, right? Because that was the original veil of quote unquote the illusion of separation between masculine and feminine poles, shall we say. And then when that went into its individuation process, then there's this larger love field of our cosmic grandmothers and our cosmic grandfathers that have never gone into separation, right? They never went into the density of this space-time reality. And they said that they would hold the whole entire ancestral human family tree of life in this love space to see us through this grand experiment where we would forget ourselves, right, and forget each other and have all kinds of experiences of both union and separation. And then at this time of graduation, right, where the planet is beginning to prepare for its greater birth, that the star ancestors would then become more available to assist us personally with the transmutation and the alchemization of those ancient wounds, which are thousands and thousands and actually millions and millions of years old. If you look at all the, galactic Star Wars and, all of the conflict between countries and nations and civilizations and cultures and civilizations not of this world, right? There's a lot going on, and so many different variables of both deep intimacy and profound, right, ecstasy, and also, significant suffering and misery, pain, and unpleasantries of the inversion, right, or those reversal grids. And so there's a great
May I add something?
gift.
May I add something?
Yeah.
There's a great benefit to going unconscious, to going through amnesia, because we don't really rest much when we always know everything. If you know it all, you never learn anything, right? So it's kind of like knowing the end of the movie. So a lot of souls volunteer to come into this grand experiment because they want to be part of the acceleration and the growth and the new information and knowledge and how to combine information into different ways. So it's not really good or bad, light, dark, evil. That's a polarity. It's beneficial. It's all the above. And the key is when you find yourself in the middle of this adventure, enjoy it. It's like, hey, I'm Superman. Whatever it is, and
Yes.
enjoy the difficulties that you give yourself in order to expand and grow and become. It's like at the end of the rainbow. At the end of the day, we go in and out of in our lifetimes, but we get unconscious, then we get go in between in our death stage, and we go, wow, wasn't that interesting? Wasn't that fun? Look what we did. Look what we and deconstruct it, and we go, wow, I'm so sorry, I hurt you or killed you, and we merge into oneness again. We forgive each other, and it's like, okay, I'm ready to go to the next round. Let's see if we can do better or different. So that's
Yes,
all. That's my
well
take on
said.
it.
Yes, that's it in a nutshell. That's the whole point, because the journey of that discovery of the reunion after the experience, right, of the forgetting, it is profound, right? To re-access that space of oneness after you go through the theatrical characters, quote unquote, on the stage. So
Nice.
thank you for summarizing that so beautifully.
Okay, you ready for
So
the next
the whole point, yeah, is the next slide.
one? Okay, next slide. Okay. Wow.
And so as she was saying, right, one of the mythological examples of this process of individuating, right, into this grand saga in the archetypal legendary realms is the Star Wars ancestral family tree of life. So if you look up online, because you can't really see all the characters, right? We have the Skywalker family tree. And of course, in that storyline, you have both the light side and the dark side of the Force. And there have been these epic romances, right? Between quote unquote one side of the beloved that's on quote unquote one side of the fence, right? And the other beloved is quote unquote on the other side of the fence. And so their love affair transcends duality. And so that was best represented in the romance between Rey Skywalker and Kylo Ren, who was also Ben Solo. So this is part of what we utilize, the storytelling template, right, around the campfire with the star grandmothers and the grandfathers. And so they look at this, right, from the overview, the cosmic overview, and they see all the different branches of the family. And as we know, the character of Darth Vader started out originally as Anakin Skywalker. And he met his beloved divine counterpart, Padma, and yet she died in childbirth, and so that was a pretty traumatic event for him. And so he experienced, right, quote unquote, jumping from one side of the fence to the other, right? So in some sense he toggled or played what you would call both sides of the continuum. And then it got resolved like 3 generations later, right? So his children, Leia and Luke, right, they were supporting the healing process, except it didn't really all, click into that alchemy of being able to ground the sacred marriage until Kylo Ren and Rey stepped in 2 generations later. So this is the way I basically explain it through the Divine Union Foundation. We basically say that we all come from many different aspects of the greater original tree of life. And if you see those Celtic mandalas, right, half of the tree of light is quote unquote in one frequency, and the other half of the tree of life, right, is in that other frequency. And then together they create the wholeness of all existence. And so this was also discussed in, what was it, Jim Henson's film, um, The Dark Crystal, right, where they had the individuation, right, both sides of the continuum, and then the grand finale where they reunited back into their wholeness. So these are the bloodlines where we have incarnated on both sides of the force, right, or both of these ends of the spectrum. And so just like the vernal equinox, right, because Mother Nature is reflecting this to us, there's equal balance of nighttime and daytime. And so there's that diversity of roles that we play and come across in many, many different timelines and incarnations on both ends of the spectrum, like I was saying. The miracle of this entire genealogy is the manifestation of the prime Jedi, which is that alchemical synthesis of both opposites, right? So the two sides of the force reconciling in this internal tantra of the union of all dichotomies. So that's what Rey Skywalker was able to exemplify, because she literally, right, was the granddaughter of the Emperor and also came from the Jedi lineages. So she carried, quote unquote, both ends of the spectrum in her genetic code, which is pretty amazing. And my apologies if you haven't seen the Star Wars mythology. You know, you might want to go and check it out. These were the newer ones, which is technically 7, 8, and 9. The ninth was released winter solstice 2019. So if you want to do some Star Wars catch up, the slide will make more sense.
And a similar story is the War of the Roses. If you go through human history, and you had the two tribes, and of course they finally merged the two lines, and then they created Henry VIII, so it didn't work out so well. He was a mass murderer, but they did try to reconcile, and they do have the Tudors, and so it seems to be an archetype that runs through, you know, our fiction and our real life, our real existence. So, okay.
Yes. Next.
Just say what's real and what isn't, right?
Yeah.
So we say Star Wars is founded on a real story. So
Yes, for those
next,
with eyes to see, they know where that screenplay came from.
right,
Truth is stronger than fiction. And so,
right.
as I was saying earlier in the broadcast, Janet and I are aware of our celestial heritage. And so part of my 5 walk-ins that I was talking about back in February 11th, right, are actually oversoul aspects of my human heritage, which is Russian royalty, right, before we had the last Tsar over there in that part of the planet, and also the Anastasia lineage of the ringing cedars, right? So we understood and practiced the ancient principles of magic and with the great houses of magic, right? So a lot of the human royal families have studied Tantra, they've studied alchemy, they've studied high alchemical magic, right? So they have communed with the supernatural forces of nature. And there is this promise that the galactic federations have made to both the planet and her people from this gift of grace from the Intergalactic Confederation, that the way that we could easily and effortlessly dissolve or transmute or metamorphosize, right? Like the butterfly goes from the caterpillar into the butterfly. Duality was through the gift of the royal wedding, which is like the ultimate tantric ceremony within the body of Gaia and the green man. So these two beloveds, right, which you can't see because there's a little arrow on it, but sorry about that, is the highest expression of, right, the mystical Father Earth and the highest expression of the mystical Mother Earth. We talked about last month, Pachamama, Pachatata. And so their erotic, sacred sexual union creates a vortex, right, that can help us heal the splintering in our human bloodlines and also any splintering in our cosmic bloodlines, right? Say, for instance, there was conflict between 2 different star nations, right? And then that, what you would call galactic karmic imprint, then traveled to the earthen plane with the star seeds that then migrated here. And so you will see a bleed through of some of the cosmic disagreements, like you say, that were playing themselves out through the lineages here on the planet. It didn't begin here, right? We kind of imported it in. However, this planet is such a beautiful gift of grace that she agreed to transmute it all with us as she went through this epic romance with her divine counterpart. And so part of what we're going to experience today is our own ancestral healing, right? Both human and cosmic, that maybe is in our blind spot, right? Hidden, that we can't see or remember. because it's thousands and thousands and thousands of years old. And so those ancestors need our help because we're more awake, we're more conscious, we can see beyond the veils, like Janet was talking about, right? All of our character players on the stage. And this blessing of the reconciliation, and that humanity wasn't going to be able to figure this out on its own, and that the Royal Galactic Confederations basically said at this stage in human development, particularly between 2022 and 2026, that there would be massive cosmic dispensations of grace, and that we would bring this support through to humanity through the body of the morphogenetic field of the planet. So that is earth and air and wind and fire and the akash or the spirit molecule, and also the sixth element, which is the quintessence. So there's many more shamanic layers to this whole conversation. However, we're keeping it simple today, right? Just a little bit of a basic introduction, and yet, as you know, there's many more layers deep available.
Great.
Next.
I'll go next. Okay, here we go.
So part of the saving grace of how the planet makes love to itself, and Janet can elaborate on this from her own experiences because she's gone into nirvanic ecstasy just like I have.
Mm-hmm.
There's this paradox, right? That the degree to which you have experienced the dark is the degree to which you can experience the light. It's our
Mm-hmm.
capacity to quote unquote run both sides of the pendulum, right?
Mm-hmm.
And yet it's not meant to just toggle back and forth, right? Like a teeter-totter. So
Right.
this gift called a starburst of primal particle, right, is like this quantum fuel. And so if you desire to experience that ecstasy, that sacred sexual orgasmic like nirvana of the
Mm-hmm.
tantric synthesis of the opposites of your own light and dark, right? Conscious and unconscious, known and unknown, all that, dichotomies of complementary opposites that we see. This is your fuel, right? This is your high octane, right, infusion of the potency and the power, quote unquote, to attract and magnetize and draw, right, those fractures back together again through a cosmic mating process. So this is a very scientific explanation. You can come back and visit it later, right? But it gives you the gist of what we're dealing with here. The
Okay.
original ethereal nature of God's source, right, which transcends, right, everything, and thus all of creation remains always perpetual and constant due to the mechanism of self-healing through the starburst that source intended, imbued, and sets in motion. This is from the ongoing moment of creation, right? As the foundation for the original first creation, right? That is perpetual. Everything, including every single particle of the universe, has an encryption, right? A codex. And eternal life emerges from the original encryption set into the first particle, called the eternal life Christ code. And if you go back to that original broadcast, that's the minimum of what we would call 13th, 14th, and 15th space-time continuum. From this point, creation emerges and expands, right? The in-breath and the out-breath. And as it does so, the encryption expands infinitely and becomes more complex, right? Expansion, contraction, expansion and contraction. It's a pulse, right? That creates that wave. It's like a scalar wave. And this is based on that Christ code, which is a base 12 encryption. And when you go back to that first broadcast, it basically means that we can return everything to 0 point. So in that moment of the orgasm, everything goes to, right? Still point, grace point, goes back to the void. And it completely repatterns, right? It's neither light nor dark. And it goes back into what we call its original crystalline state of wholeness. Now, Janet, you've experienced this, but you use different language. So how would
Right.
you explain this for them?
Oh, geez. Uh, well, you access the entire continuum, um, all levels of the spectrum, and you go into neutral. You just witness it. We have, as a human, we tend to dichotomize and we polarize and we say that's good, bad, good, evil. But when you get into the witness mode, you just go, it is. And so then you turn into the chooser. You become the chooser. So you're no longer victim or predator. You're, you embrace it, and then you say, well, I'm aware of all this. I could go dark. I could turn into Darth Vader. I could, but I could
Right.
also go light, and I could. But I have all these choices now. What role do I want to play in this current segment of existence? You know, in the play that I'm inhabiting right now. So that's how we can move past this dark paradigm, which the planet seems to be going into. If we go into the realization, in every second, every day, every moment, every second, I am a chooser, and I can decide to choose to be nice, be kind, conscious, nice, empathetic, compassionate, considerate, and that's a choice. And if you do find yourself making a mistake, you know, doing something wrong or bad or whatever, you know, you just do better, correct it. You know, I've made an apology because we're kind of raised humans. Like, I'm sorry. Let me rephrase that. I'll do that again. Let me say that again in a kinder tone. Let me do that a different way. How would you like to see me do it again? I know I screwed up. What can I do
Yeah.
to help you heal those wounds?
Oh,
So that's what
so
I take back up.
beautifully said.
Thank you.
Yes. So you're highlighting those universal core values, right? Which meets those basic heart needs of every being, regardless of their orientation. And this is how we transcend those old definitions for sure. And so what you're describing is sovereignty and agency, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like we call it choose again. And that's a really brave moment because the choice point is literally at the level of the miraculous, because as we've said, maybe you're the very first person in your entire bloodline that's actually committed to kindness and the compassion in the face of quote unquote, right, a significant long standing disagreement, right, that's been very tumultuous or even very violent, right, lifetime after lifetime or generation after generation. We are the ones that are choosing, right, that quantum space of love made real. So I like how you
Mm-hmm.
go practical, right? So we're a good fit. You always
Great.
ground it, right, to what is available in our day to day. Thank you.
Yeah, my husband's an educator, you know, college professor, and you know, formally trained, and he tends to go blah, 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 and it's like his teacher's teaching him how to teach, and we're saying, well, did you reach anybody? Do they know what you said? It's a lot of big words. You did it very well, but okay, now back at the and
No,
I
back
like
in
what you said
our
earlier.
everyday lives.
But I said it all. Yeah, but they didn't get what you're saying. So next, start over. So that's why we're slowing this down, because it is a complicated concept for a lot of people, because they're just busy, you know, getting groceries and feeding the kid and going to work, right? And, so how can we translate this? So that's part of my role as a contacting experiencer, is I'm a translator. It's like, oh yay. And sometimes it takes a while for me to get the words to translate, because language is very limited compared to
Oh
like
yeah.
telepathic or energetic. So we do our best. So
Yes. And so thank you, right, for our teamwork today, for those tuning in. I know a lot of people are energetically with us right now. So thank you for those that are joining us through the purity of your spirit, and that you'll be quote unquote listening to the replay, because what we're about to enter into through the direct experience is absolutely a co-participatory, right, gift
mhm.
to ourselves and the whole species. So it doesn't matter if you're listening to this 5 years from now. right? You have a
Right.
divine appointment with this wisdom, with this purity of bringing back love to every manifestation of life that has ever played itself out in the entire great book of life of the whole race and a big territory and beyond, right? Because like I said, we've had
Right.
issues that we brought with us from other continuums. So
Mhm.
next.
Okay. Wow.
And so now we're going to transition out of what you would call the educational experience and into the direct embodiment. And so that first transmission in February up until this now moment, this is covering concepts, themes, essential ingredients, key components. And yet, if it's not integrated into our cell structures, it's just another nice tantric story.
Mhm.
So part of my gift as a tantrika or a dakini is soul tantra. And what the soul group here has asked me to support is a direct experience of what we would call ancestral alchemical magic. So that people tuning in to the replay or people tuning in with us right now from all over the planet, right? Different countries, different continents, they know that Janet and I are co-hosting this together and that this is an opportunity for those that have come before us to receive this grace as well. Like Janet and I have traversed, a lot of layers to even have this conversation between us as two women and sisters. And yet those that came before us, this would be like, like way over their heads. And so the way that we can deliver this to them is through our own internal anatomy and physiology, right? Into your subconscious and into your unconscious. And this is the original intent, right? That we would be able to transcend duality and bring in this cosmic living legacy of how you're supposed to appreciate union if you've never known separation, or how are you supposed to appreciate love if you've never known fear? Or how are you supposed to appreciate this orgasmic pleasure if you don't actually know, right, what the antithesis of that may feel like, right? So we've been on a journey of heretofore learning through what you would call stark contrast. However, the purpose is so that there is a greater experience of reconnecting with love at a level of reverence, right? If you come from love and then you have experiences of that would feel like the exact opposite of love, in the surrender of the rebalance of power, the power of love through the laws of grace, which are here to support us, then our appreciation for the miracle of love is exponential. So it's kind of like people are like, why do we design these ridiculous, you know, scenarios, right? You play this character and you play this character, and in this lifetime we show up this way, and in this lifetime we show up this way. And so the oversoul or the highest self knows that we're all one, right? We're all one family, and yet
Mhm.
certainly doesn't look like that if you look at what's going on the planet or what's going on, right, in other star systems. And yet that foundational template always exists. It's just if you're always in the bliss, right, of a perpetual state of quantum union, then there's no like human realization of like, wow, that's an exquisite miracle. And so that's part of the way it was languaged for me in all of what you would call my end of life reviews, because I've died multiple times, right? And each time that I died and I went into the end of life review, I got to look at the issues of the human ancestral genealogy from the perspective of the galactic heart. And I was like, oh, we're actually birthing quantum fields of love, right? And merging the human heart with the cosmic heart, right? And then the galactic heart, and then that part of the origins of all that is is beyond human description, right? So these are like gradations of going into amnesia and then reawakening. So Janet, I know you will ground this again with your own personal metaphors, but you know, this is like the gestalt, right?
Great.
That wave, shall we say.
I've had 8 near-death experiences, and I've learned from each and every one of them. And it's a homecoming. You go there and you remember everything, who you are as an eternal being, and your connection all the way up to source, and all your incarnations through all the planets and vibratory frequencies and dimensions and realms, and however you symbol it. And then at the end of the evaluation and revisiting everything, and I chose to come back each and every time, because actually, this is the greatest show in existence anywhere in the universe. The Earth is an amazing place to be, and we're very fortunate to be here at this time. You know, we're experiencing this passionate cosmic. You know, emotions are big here, right? A lot of places, emotions are just kind of like, you know, this level, but we get to, you know, experience passion and intense love, and we do have intense pain, and if it doesn't kill you, you come out the other side. And you know, a lot of times you may go into an intense pain, and then you go into the cosmic laugh, right, where you just are laughing at it all, and you're seeing it from a different level. It's beyond words. A lot of times all of this is beyond words, and when we attempt to put it into words, we're kind of subparsing. There's a knowingness and awareness, and everybody can get there. This isn't just because, you know, you and I are tantrikas and dakinis and we've had all of this. You know, some people get it by contemplation and meditation, or, you know, having some kind. You can have a samadhi at any time, some kind of kundalini awakening. We're not sure what your stimuli might be to bring that apart, bring that around. But anyway, that's about all I want to add right now. I'm really grateful for all the experiences I've had. Although while I was in them, sometimes I was going, "Oh no," you know, it felt in the moment. But when I went past judgment, I realized there's divine perfection and all that. And then that helped me clear the way to have my divine partnership. So I have this incredible beloved, and he is my twin flame soulmate, and we're about creating a partnership society, which is what this whole exposition is about. You know, balancing here at the time of the spring equinox. We're going to balance.
Yeah.
Yay.
And that partnership society is also heralded by Dr. Rianne Eisler, who started Partnerism, right? So partnerism.org, and that was founded on the Center for Partnership Studies. So I adore that woman. And she's the one that did the academic research on the Great Right. And so this Hieros Gamos, right, is like a quantum evolution of that Great Right. And so you have reunited with your beloved divine counterpart, right? That twin mirror. And there's also octaves, right? People might call that twin flame the twin ray. They might call that twin ray the twin prime. They might call that twin prime the twin dyad. So there's all these different iterations of the beloved. And today, the way that we can receive the deepest relief for those aspects of our ancestry that are still significantly suffering, right, in the forgetting portion of the whole cycle, is this original tantric sacred sexual power in the body of the whole planet. And it is a replication of that tantric orgasmic love affair between the primordial god and goddess of all that is. So what's happening in the central fusion of our sun, right, in the middle of this galaxy, is happening in that central fusion in the middle of the planet, which is happening in what the indigenous people call, you know, the vortex of the womb at the center of the universe, right? And that also is a stargate that lives inside of our own bodies. And for most people, it's dormant, right, or asleep, until they have a pretty big spiritual awakening experience, which doesn't have to be just a Kundalini awakening or an out-of-body experience or a near-death experience. Like Janet was saying, there's a gazillion versions. Some people, it's a shamanic, entheogenic, right, request. And so we say thank you to whatever that elixir is. And so in this now moment, even though we're on this broadcast, right, take the opportunity to just close your eyes, and I'm going to do the same. And we're going to go into what we would call sound and voice. If you're in front of your phone or you're in front of your computer, feel free to just, push that laptop aside and lay down if you want to feel cozy, comfy, or relaxed. And feel this appreciation to yourself for making it into this opportunity. And feel this beautiful, as we say, bridal chamber that's been designed by the planet herself and himself. And fast forward, right, to March 20th, 2023, the vernal equinox, where we have 12 hours of day and exactly 12 hours of night. And feel into both the right side of your body and also the left side of your body, and what we call the yin and the yang sides of your being. And also tune in to what the Taoists referred to as the third force, as Janet has said, that point of neutrality. The Lemurians called it Wan, Yuan. So it's yin, yang, yuan. Masculine, feminine, neutral. Positive, negative, neutral. And so breathe down your central channel and open up your root, regardless of your gender, opening up that yoni, or opening up the lingam, right? Your sex organs of your designated external gender, knowing that we carry, right, both those lunar and solar tantric channels inside of each and every one of us. And connect with what is being modeled for us by the whole planet as she emerges out of winter and into the warmth of these solar rays. The sun making love to the planet as it comes out of its freezing dormancy of the colder seasons. And in the First Nations culture, this is the romance between Mother Earth and Father Sky. And let yourself come into the mystery of this now moment, where maybe if you've never related to nature or the forces of nature as sexual, you get very curious. And you begin to ponder, how is my sexuality also connected to the sexual experiences that's happening in the body of the natural world? And now bring your attention behind the backside of your heart and call out to your entire maternal ancestry, which for some of you may show up on the left side of your body. And also call out to your entire paternal ancestry, that for some of you will also show up behind you on the right side of your body. And feeling into that genealogy that brought you into the miracle of this unique constellation of all the generations that have come before you, both on this planet and beyond. Let yourself travel back to your star family relations that predate, so to speak, your incarnations on this planet. And through that starburst of the Partakai, ask your highest self, your I am consciousness, to scan your whole body and ask, where am I still holding any cellular memory of ancestral trauma across all spaces, places, times, and dimensions? And feel connected to the realization, as Janet has said, this is all for a higher purpose. There are soul contracts and the mystery of these sacred agreements, which predominantly remain hidden, quote unquote, right, in the records of light before we are born, and also in our end of life review. So let's now bring in this quantum space of inviting in the big picture, inviting in to these experiences of ancestral trauma, both our pre-birth planning as well as all of our end of life reviews, all of that intelligence before we arrive, and all of that intelligence after, quote unquote, we graduate, because we never die. And there is a promise that predates the birth of this entire planetary body, where all of us as a world soul agreed to play out all of these different patterns and all of these different programs and all of these different experiences of significant contrast, so that we can reclaim that sovereign choice to choose multidimensional embodied love, even in the face of triggers, even in the face of challenge, even in the face of what looks like significant discrepancies. And feel the innocence of the human race. Feel the innocence of all the generations that have come before us, knowing that our mothers and our fathers and our mothers' mothers and our mothers' fathers and our fathers' mothers and our fathers' fathers, everyone is always doing the very best they can. However, there has been a backlog of what we would call significant unfinished business that has been recorded in the Akashic genetic database of our DNA and RNA archives. And there is this original promise that we come from Source and that we return to Source. So through our sovereign volition, we can now accept the opportunity to heal that which has never ever experienced a healing before in the history and the her story of the human race. Now, this will be spoken not in English, to reach right into those deeper celestial parts of your heart. This is Gaia speaking. It's not a light language, it's the language of the planet. Jidivotora la la coria tatanas. Zititia goish tantana. What she's saying is allow all of your atoms and molecules and muscles and cell structures to just begin relaxing deep into this embrace. The planet is giving you a hug. Hugging your mother's bloodline, also hugging your father's bloodline within you. And over in the Hawaiian Islands, there's this beautiful tradition known as Ho'oponopono. And it is the principle of forgiving self and also being able to forgive the reflection in the mirror. To restore love where there has been judgment. To restore where there has been pain. And now through this tantric ritual of the vernal equinox that happens once every 4 seasons, feel this romance or imagine this erotic love affair between, right, the day and the night. Between the planetary masculine, and the planetary feminine. And in your body, you also may feel it, right, in this love affair between your electricity and also your magnetism. And sometimes that electricity and magnetism, right, needs that support of the tri-wave, the mother, the father, the neutral, the positive, the negative, the neutral. And as this electricity and magnetism, which is flowing through the ley lines, the dragon lines, the chi lines of the whole planet, also the meridians and the nadis in your own body, there is this fuel of plasma. And for those of you that have met the twin flame of the whole planet, this planet also has a galactic beloved. So Gaia and the green man, right, are having hot, passionate sex, right, in the body of the planet. The planet is also making love to its galactic blueprint. This is why she's sometimes called Gaia Sophia, and the galactic Christ with a capital K. So underneath you, feel this love affair, this sacred sexual union of Pachamama, Pachatata, right? And in their mystical coitus. And as Janet and her husband knows, this erotic plasma of sacred sexual union can permeate into every wound and into every fracture and into every, right, experience of disconnection from self or disconnection from source or disconnection, right, from remembering who we truly are. The Maha Tantra can make love to death. The Maha Tantra can make love to every experience of separation. So even if your great, 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 great grandfather, right, murdered your great, 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 great grandmother, right, not even death itself can stop this love from traveling like a plasma river of grace. Whatever the experience is, only love is real. And feel now all of our cosmic star ancestors that have never gone into separation or polarity. They're with us here and they're scooping up, right, any of your human ancestors, past, present, future, that have been looping, right, in old redundant stories, where they haven't been able to come to that catharsis that Janet was talking about. Where we laugh at the cosmic joke of the game. Into that space of the non-dual. So feel this assistance coming in, right, from your celestial grandmothers and your celestial grandfathers, and bringing this plasma as medicine. This is what we mean by to drink from the cup of the Holy Grail. It's an alchemical elixir of union. Pouring, drenching, and infusing into these ancient wounds of separation. Where did you feel or your ancestors feel disconnected from life? Where did you or your ancestors feel disconnected from love? Where did you or your ancestors feel disconnected from your life force? Call it chi, prana, kundalini, shakti, right? Orgasmic breath of creation, all the same thing. Give thanks to the lineages of the Ho'oponopono, which is a blessing, right? To heal that which is beyond human description, because so many of these layers are cumulative. And now feel also this galactic love affair of the planet with her galactic twin flame. Very, very hot eroticism, very multi-dimensional. So this is like the galactic, divine, sacred, sexual power of like the highest selves of Gaia and the green man, or the oversoul of the planet itself. And you may not feel this, right, until maybe Dream Lodge tonight. Maybe this whole experience won't register for you until your brain is asleep, right? And your mind is at rest. That's fine. This has come to you in the dream space as well. Or maybe you bring this experience and this broadcast to a space in the woods or on the beach, out in nature, and you create a medicine wheel and you sit in the middle of the union of the north and the south and the east and the west. And you allow yourself to go into that curiosity. What is actually available in my body if I realize that there is a galactic twin flame that is romancing the sacred union of Gaia and the green man in this entire natural world, nature's global intelligence system. And now let's add a third layer, right, as the Trinity, this galactic love affair between the planet and its divine husband, right, and its interstellar beloved, is also a re-emanation of the original tantric union of the primordial mother, father, source code of us all. The Anunnakian Empire as the same galactic source creation, divine mother and father, right, as the Andromedan, right, empire. Doesn't matter what star family, doesn't matter what star lineage, doesn't matter what human lineage, doesn't matter what human ancestry. We all come from the first emergence from the void. Primordial, supernal, God, goddess of all that is. Words very clumsy, can't even come close. The divine parents of us all. And I promise you, every galactic royal family ultimately bows before the Maha Tantra of eternal first creation. This can include what you would call the archetypal energies of the white dragon or the black dragon. This can also incorporate the archetypal energies of the white phoenix or the black phoenix. What we're saying, though, is that there is a minimum of 4 strands. The light and the dark feminine, devic synthesizing into that plasma ecstasy of union within itself, and the light and dark masculine synthesizing into the plasma union of itself. And if you're looking at the top of the original Arc of Grace, right, these are the 4 quadrality, not 3 primal charges, 4 primal charges. Just planting the seed that this is the quadrality of the Maha Tantra of all creation, where light and dark and the feminine is making love to itself. Light and dark and the masculine is making love to itself, and then it exponentiates. The 4 becomes the 8. And exponentiates. If life chose to go into polarity, it knew it would be able to have a sacred sexual reunion. So every duality ultimately is designed to come back into tantric union with itself. And it doesn't care if it took millions of years, right? For the reconciliation and the reunion of the beloveds. So this is what we mean by the twin dyad in the Star Wars mythology, right? That moment where Rey Skywalker is there with Ben Solo. The Prime Jedi carries all sides of life, both light and dark, both union and separation, both masculine and feminine, both conscious and unconscious. And the miracle of this gift of grace is the nirvanic, orgasmic ecstasy of it all. And every dimension of consciousness is preparing itself to surrender into this miracle of all miracles that's already happened, because there is no time. And now we take a pregnant pause. This is a baby dose. So this is enough for now. However, it is just the beginning of a much deeper mystery. And yet take a moment to wiggle your fingers, wiggle your toes, and sway your right and left hips, and give thanks for this baby dose of a much larger shamanic tantric mystery, which we cannot get to in this broadcast. However, preview of coming attractions. And know that between now and what you would call the Vernal Equinox of March 2023, profound alchemical ancestral healing is going to be taking place for all of us beyond our human comprehension as a gift of quantum love. You don't need to understand the wounds. You don't even need to remember the trauma. Not necessary. It's just a willingness to show up, accept, and allow the miracle. As a tantric dispensation of grace. And then we'll come back, right, to two other important pivotal pieces in the PowerPoint where we're going to discuss how this has all been encoded and encrypted into the body of the planet with all of these star arcs underneath us. Down, down, deep, 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 right? Minimum 60 miles below the surface. These are stargates that exist within the body of the planet that have never, ever, 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 ever been opened. They are waiting for our signal. Right? For that open sesame. So those that participate in these quantum ancestral healings, right, they're also the key code activators of these ancient stargates. So I'm saying that as a recognition and acknowledgement to everyone gathered here. Thank you for the divine design that you bring into this composition. And when you're ready, open your eyes if you haven't already.
Okay. That was
And
lovely.
join Janet and I in just entering into the transition, right, from the right brain back into just a little bit more left brain stuff before we close out the day. However, breathe deep into your heart. Breathe deep into, right, the right side and left side of your spinal column, right? Flex your spinal column if you've done Kundalini yoga, right? Arch, convex, concave, right? Wiggle your whole body. Say, wow, okay, I'm here. Welcome back.
That was great. Thank you so much. Lovely. Wow.
And so, Janet, if you want to go to the next slide, that'll also help with reentry.
Okay.
So use this image to ground the realization that as she has had plenty of contactee experiences, so have I. The star people have been coming and visiting this planet for millions of years. And millions of years ago, millions of years ago, they embedded motherships into the caves of this whole planet, right? Or the inner telluric, inner earth civilizations. And they are all star arcs. And a part of that original arc of grace is in the technology of that light mothership. And I call them, motherships because they're made of very plasmic, right? Quantum, cosmic material. And if you'd like to see the PowerPoint, right, without the little arrow, just email me and we'll get you all the images so that you can see it without the overlay. And so you can find me, right, at the Divine Union Foundation and Facebook if anybody would like to continue this conversation, because it will spark, right, realizations and ahas. And so that's at Speaking Tree of Life in Facebook. Janet and I have also posted this radio broadcast on a social media event page, right? So you can also find all of my contact information in there. Email is Gayatri@Divine Union Academy. And this beautiful slide is also the male and female energies within that primordial galactic tree of life, also within, right, the planetary tree of life. And the whole point is love begets more love. Even if we have these experiences where it feels like the exact opposite, right? Ultimately, it all comes back home to love exponential. Next slide. And in my heritage, as you will see, there's the beloveds of the divine masculine and the divine feminine in this multidimensional tree of life. It's not Adam and Eve, right? Much bigger. And that it is also in this primordial magic realm of this love affair between the phoenix and the dragon that the Asian cultures also represent. So it's Eastern and Western, and this is the inheritance for the family of the human race to come back to our throne of destiny, both individually as beloveds, right? The reunion of the beloveds, as well as the reunion of the beloved within the planet's destiny. And so we talk about this also in the Ancestors Within movement. And so I am an Amazon author, just like Janet. In the first broadcast, towards the end, you'll see all of these different amazing books that she's written. And then this is just, one of mine that I've authored. So we take this conversation much deeper over there, right? And for now, if you'd like to visit and collaborate with me as an individual, I have the Divine Union Academy website, www.divineunionacademy.com. If you're an organization, right, or a family, or a business, or a temple, I'm also available at divineunionfoundation.org. So there's a treat coming with the continued collaborations between Janet and I. So she will continue to bring us back in. We call it re-entry. And so drink lots of water, preferably put lemon in that water. And if you can, take a salt bath tonight. And if you can, work with the elements, right? Like sit with the fire of a candle, or sit with the fire, right, of the fireplace, and work with those elements to just keep purifying your body, the water, fire, electrolytes. And yes, Janet now has all of these beautiful publications out from, is it Teresa, the publishing house?
No. I just do, I self-publish. Aquarian Media Enterprises.
Are you unmuted, Janet?
Oh,
we can't hear you. Go back. Add your sound.
No.
Well, I will just say, right, that she's published multiple books, right, and has quite a collection. And this is the newest one, right? Nima.
That's coming in fall.
The divine counterpart.
This one came out in January.
And it's gorgeous
this one,
artwork.
I'm probably going to have
out Tantric beloveds that come to us from the star civilizations. Do we have your sound back?
I don't know what happened.
And of course, right, you're talking about the dragon dynasties, the dragon lineages, right? And the way that you have connected and communed with them as well. Oh, it'd be so much fun to hear you talk about your own books. Okay. And of course, the whole thing that's sponsoring today is Aquarian Radio and the organization enkispeaks.com, aquarianradio.com, that's sponsoring our whole experience today.
Good job. Good job.
Janet's in the sacred silence. Do you want to type in anything, honey, at the bottom, because we can't hear you?
Okay. Thanks.
Let's see if we can see that. Chat box.
Yep.
Oh, I can hear her. Oh, there we are. I can hear her. Awesome. I can hear her now too. Okay.
I don't know why I had unmuted it. Anyway, I just want to thank everybody for joining us today. We had quite a nice audience today, and tell your friends, and they can listen to the rebroadcast. And we will see you in a week or two. We'll find a date. Hopefully, we won't get snowed out again.
Yeah.
How many feet of snow did you have?
8 to 10 feet. We call it the avalanche from heaven.
The avalanche from heaven, yes. And we had rain for the last, while you were getting all the snow, we had rain. So some days it was like we couldn't have broadcasted if we wanted to, because when it just downpours like that, we can't get a signal. So
Yes.
the weather rolls.
And the
Nature
weather
rolls.
is, rocking and rolling. And also, Michael Nye from Beyond Being Human asked me to highlight that we also went very, very deep last fall in a Star Nations ancestral healing with that community. So this is like the continuation, right, of what got started
Yes.
from fall into winter, and it's going to continue to expand and evolve and take us into places that none of us have been. So thank you
Right.
so much for tuning in, and to be
Namaste.
continued.
Aloha. I'm going to end the broadcast.
Aloha.
Bye, everybody. Thank you. Bye.